The lake house smelled of pine and secrets, its wooden walls holding decades of whispered confessions under the Michigan stars. I stood on the dock, the water lapping at my bare feet, when Eli's hand grazed a touch that burned like a spark in the July dusk. That single moment shattered everything I thought I knew about us. About me. My name is Caleb Winters, a 24-year-old graphic designer from Chicago, trying to stitch my life back together after a breakup that left me hollow. I'd come to our family's lake house in Traverse City to escape, to drown my heartbreak in the quiet of the water and the comfort of routine. Eli, my cousin, was the last person I expected to see here. He was 26, a wanderer with a guitar and a smile that could unravel anyone, even me, though I'd spent years pretending it didn't. We'd grown up together, summers racing through the woods, winters building snow forts, but this time, something was different. His eyes held a weight I couldn't place, a question I wasn't ready to answer. The lake house had been our family's sanctuary for generations, a sprawling cabin nestled among towering pines, its windows glowing with the promise of warmth. I'd arrived alone, expecting solitude, but Eli showed up unannounced, his beat-up Jeep crunching gravel in the driveway. "Missed this place," he said, tossing his duffel bag onto the porch, his voice casual but his gaze lingering. I shrugged it off, chalking it up to nostalgia. We were cousins, close as brothers, nothing more. At least, that's what I told myself. That first night, we sat by the fire, the crackle of logs filling the silence. Eli strummed his guitar, humming a melody that felt like it was written just for me. "You okay, Cal?" he asked, his voice soft, like he could see the cracks in my heart. I nodded, sipping my beer, avoiding his eyes. I didn't want to talk about my ex, Ryan, or the way his betrayal had left me questioning everything he choices. My worth, my ability to love. Eli didn't push, but his presence felt like a tether, grounding me in a way I hadn't felt in months. The next day, we kayaked across the lake, the sun blazing overhead. Eli's laughter echoed as he splashed me, his shirt clinging to his frame in a way that made my chest tighten. I told myself it was the heat, the exercise, anything but the truth clawing at the edges of my mind. We docked at a secluded cove, a place we'd called our pirate hideout as kids. Eli climbed onto a rock, his silhouette framed against the water, and said, "You ever wonder what we'd be like if we weren't us?" His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning I wasn't ready to unpack. That night, the air grew thick with tension. We cooked dinner together, grilled fish and corn on the cob, the kitchen filled with the scent of butter and charcoal. Eli's arm brushed mine as he reached for a plate, and I froze, the contact sending a jolt through me. He didn't pull away. Instead, he looked at me, his hazel eyes searching mine, and said, "Caleb, there's something I need to tell you." My heart pounded, a mix of fear and something I couldn't name. Before he could finish, a clap of thunder shook the house, and the power went out, plunging us into darkness. We lit candles, their flickering light casting shadows on the walls. Eli's face was half-lit, his expression unreadable. "You ever feel like you're hiding from yourself?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I wanted to laugh it off, to change the subject. But the truth was, I'd been hiding for years from the way my heart raced when he smiled, from the dreams I'd buried deep. I didn't answer, but my silence spoke louder than words. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving the lake glassy and still. Eli suggested a hike to the old lookout tower, a rickety structure we'd climbed as kids. The trail was overgrown, the air thick with the scent of wet earth. As we climbed, Eli's hand steadied me when I slipped, his touch lingering longer than necessary. At the top, the view stretched for miles: emerald forests, The shimmering lake. A world that felt both vast and suffocating. I've been running from this for years, Eli said, his voice breaking. From you. I stared at him, my pulse hammering. What are you saying? I asked, though I already knew. He stepped closer, his breath warm against my cheek. I'm saying I've loved you since we were kids. Caleb. Not like family. Like this. And then he kissed me a soft, desperate kiss that tasted of pine and longing. A kiss that broke every rule we'd ever known. The world tilted. My mind screamed that this was wrong. Cousins. Family. Forbidden, but my heart didn't care. I kissed him back, my hands trembling as they found his shoulders. When we pulled apart, his eyes were wet, and mine were too. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't mean to ruin everything. You didn't, I said, my voice hoarse. But the truth was, everything had changed. The Lakehouse, once a place of safety, now felt like a crucible, burning away the lies I'd told myself. I didn't know what came next, but I knew I couldn't go back. The kiss lingered like a ghost, haunting every corner of the Lakehouse. I avoided Eli's eyes the next morning, my coffee cup trembling in my hands as I stood at the kitchen counter. How could something so wrong feel so right? We tried to act normal, but the air crackled with unspoken words. Breakfast was silent, the clink of forks against plates deafening. I caught Eli watching me, his expression a mix of hope and fear. And I hated how my heart leapt at the sight. We need to talk, I finally said, my voice steadier than I felt. He nodded, and we walked to the dock, the place where it had all begun. The lake was a mirror, reflecting the turmoil inside me. Eli, what we did, it's not just about us, I said, staring at the water. It's family. It's everything. He sat beside me, his knee brushing mine, and I fought the urge to lean into him. I know, he said, but I've spent my whole life pretending I don't feel this way. I can't do it anymore. His words hit like a punch. I thought of our family Thanksgiving dinners, summer reunions, the way our parents looked at us like we were the future. What would they say if they knew? What would I say if I admitted I felt the same? We can't just do this, I said, my voice cracking. It's not that simple. Eli's jaw tightened. I know it's not simple, Caleb. But love isn't supposed to be easy. He reached for my hand, and I let him take it, his fingers warm and steady against mine. For a moment, I let myself imagine a world where we could be together, where the rules didn't matter. But reality crashed in, cold and unforgiving. That afternoon, we drove into town for supplies, the tension between us palpable. Traverse City buzzed with summer tourists, their laughter a stark contrast to the storm in my head. At the grocery store, an old family friend, Mrs. Larson, spotted us. Caleb, Eli, you boys still causing trouble, she teased, her smile warm. I forced a laugh, but Eli's hand brushed mine as we walked away, and I felt like a liar. Back at the Lakehouse, I found an old photo album in the attic, filled with pictures of us as kids grinning, gap-toothed, arms slung around each other. I traced my finger over a photo of us fishing, Eli's smile brighter than the sun. Had he loved me even then? The thought made my chest ache. When Eli found me, he sat beside me on the dusty floor, his shoulder against mine. We were happy, he said, his voice soft. We could be again. I wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me. What if this destroys everything? I asked. Our family, our lives. Eli's eyes darkened. What if it saves us? He countered. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed a text from my sister. Mia, you guys okay up there? Mom's worried. Guilt twisted in my gut. I didn't reply. That night, we sat on the porch, the stars blazing above. Eli told me about his years on the road, playing gigs and dive bars, running from the truth. Every song I wrote was about you, he admitted, his voice raw. Every mile I drove, I was trying to outrun this. I wanted to tell him I'd felt it to the pull. The ache but fear held me back. Instead, I leaned my head against his shoulder, and we sat in silence, the weight of our choices pressing down. The next day, we went swimming, the cold water shocking my senses. Eli dove under, resurfacing with a grin that made my heart stutter. We wrestled like we did as kids. But this time, his touch lingered, his laughter softer. When we climbed onto the dock, dripping and breathless, he pulled me close, his forehead against mine. I don't care what anyone thinks, he whispered. I just want you. I didn't know how to answer. Part of me wanted to run, to pretend this never happened. But another part, the louder part, wanted to stay, to fight for whatever this was. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I made a choice. I kissed him, slow and deliberate, letting the world fall away. For that moment, it was just us, the lake, and the truth we'd both been hiding. But the real world was waiting, and I knew it wouldn't let us go so easily. The Lakehouse felt smaller now, its walls closing in with every stolen glance, every touch we didn't acknowledge. I woke to the sound of Eli's guitar, soft notes drifting through the morning mist. He was on the porch, his fingers dancing over the strings, playing a melody that felt like it was pulling my heart apart. I stood in the doorway, watching him, knowing we were running out of time. We can't stay here forever, I said, breaking the silence. Eli stopped playing, his eyes meeting mine. Why not? He asked, half joking, but there was a plea in his voice. I didn't have an answer. The Lakehouse was a bubble, a place where we could pretend the world didn't exist. But reality was creeping in, and with it, the weight of what we'd done. That afternoon, we took the boat out. The motors hummed, drowning out my thoughts. Eli steered, his hair whipping in the wind, and I watched him, memorizing every detail, the curve of his jaw, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. We anchored in the middle of the lake, the water stretching endlessly around us. What do we do now? I asked, my voice barely audible over the waves. Eli leaned back, his hands behind his head. We could leave, he said. Go somewhere no one knows us. Start over. The idea was tempting, a new city, a new life, just the two of us. But it meant leaving everything behind, our family, our history, the people who loved us. Could I do that? Could he? When we got back, a car was parked in the driveway. My stomach dropped. It was Mia, my sister, her arms crossed as she leaned against her SUV. You didn't answer my texts, she said, her eyes narrowing as she looked between us. Eli stiffened, and I felt the air shift, like a storm was coming. Just needed some quiet, I said, forcing a smile. Mia didn't buy it. She followed us inside, her gaze sharp, like she could sense the secret we were hiding. Dinner was tense, Mia's questions cutting through the small talk. What's going on with you two? She asked, her fork hovering over her plate. Eli's hand brushed mine under the table, a silent reassurance, but it only made me feel more exposed. Nothing's going on, I lied, my voice tight. Mia's eyes lingered on me, then Eli, and I knew she didn't believe me. That night, after Mia went to bed, Eli pulled me outside, his hand warm in mine. We sat on the dock, the moon casting silver across the water. She knows something, he said, his voice low. She's always been able to read us. I nodded, my throat tight. Mia was my best friend, my confidant. But this was a truth I wasn't ready to share, not with her. Not with anyone. The next day, Mia confronted me. We were washing dishes, the clatter of plates masking our voices. "You're different, Caleb," she said, her eyes searching mine. "And Eli, he's looking at you like you're the only person in the world." My hands froze in the soapy water. "It's nothing," I said, but my voice betrayed me. Mia grabbed my arm, her grip gentle but firm. "Don't lie to me," she said. "Whatever it is, you can tell me." I wanted to. God, I wanted to tell her everything: the kiss, the love, the fear. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I pulled away, muttering something about needing air. I found Eli by the lake, skipping stones, his face a mask of worry. "She's going to figure it out," I said, my voice shaking. Eli turned to me, his eyes fierce. "Then let her. Let them all. I'm not ashamed of loving you." His words hit me like a wave, washing away my defenses. I stepped closer, my hand finding his. And for a moment, I believed we could face anything. But then Mia's voice called from the porch, sharp and urgent. "Caleb, Eli, we need to talk. Now." We walked back, hand in hand, our secret on the verge of spilling. Mia stood in the living room, holding the photo album I'd left out, her face pale. "What is this?" she asked, pointing to a note scrawled in Eli's handwriting on the back of a picture, "To Caleb." My heart, always. My stomach churned. There was no hiding now. The Lakehouse was silent, the kind of silence that screams with unspoken truths. Mia's eyes darted between us, the photo album trembling in her hands. "Explain," she said, her voice sharp but fragile, like she was bracing for a blow. Eli stepped forward, his shoulders squared, but I grabbed his arm, stopping him. This was my truth to tell. "Too. Mia." I started, but the words caught in my throat. "How do you tell your sister you're in love with your cousin? How do you make her understand something you barely understand yourself?" Eli's hand found mine, his grip steady, and I drew strength from it. "I love him," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I love Eli. Not like family. Like everything." Mia's face crumpled, a mix of shock and something else hurt. "Maybe. Or betrayal. Your cousins," she said, her voice rising. "Caleb, this can't." She trailed off, her eyes filling with tears. Eli stepped closer, his voice calm but firm. "It's real, Mia. It's been real for years. We didn't choose this, but we're not running from it anymore." The room felt like it was spinning. Mia sank onto the couch, her hands covering her face. "What about Mom and Dad? What about the family?" she asked, her voice muffled. I knelt beside her, my heart aching. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I know I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way." Mia looked up, her eyes searching mine. "Are you happy?" she asked, her voice breaking. It was such a simple question, but it cut through everything: the fear, the guilt, the shame. I glanced at Eli, his face soft with hope, and I nodded. For the first time in a long time. "Yeah, I am." She didn't speak for a long time, the silence stretching like the lake outside. Finally, she stood, wiping her eyes. "I need time," she said. I don't know how to process this." She left the room, her footsteps heavy, and I felt a piece of my heart go with her. The next few days were a blur. Mia kept her distance, her silence louder than any argument. Eli and I clung to each other, our love a fragile light in the storm. We talked about the future, about leaving, about staying, about fighting for a place in a world that might never understand. Each night, We fell asleep in each other's arms. The lake house, our sanctuary, even as it felt like it was crumbling. On our last day, Mia found us on the dock, the sunrise painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. She sat beside me, her shoulder brushing mine, and for a moment, it felt like we were kids again, before everything got complicated. I talked to Mom, she said, her voice steady. My heart stopped. She doesn't know everything, but she knows you're struggling. She wants you to come home. I nodded, unable to speak. Eli's hand tightened around mine. A silent promise. I'm not saying I understand. Mia continued. But I see how you look at each other. And I can't hate you for being happy. She paused, her eyes on the water. Just be careful. The world's not kind to people like you. We left the lake house that afternoon, the Jeep packed with our bags and our secrets. As we drove away, I looked back at the cabin, its windows glinting in the sun. It had changed everything, broken us open, forced us to face the truth. Eli reached for my hand, his fingers lacing through mine, and I knew we'd face whatever came next together. Back in Chicago, we started small secret dates, stolen kisses, a life built in the shadows. But every step felt like a victory. Every touch a defiance of the rules we'd once followed. Our family would learn, in time, and some would turn away. But others, like Mia, would come around, their love stronger than their fear. The lake house had been the beginning, a place where love rewrote our story. And as Eli's hand rested in mine, I knew that no matter what the world threw at us, we'd keep writing it together, unapologetically, forever.